To order. It is November 25th, 2025. It's approximately 3:05 in the afternoon, PM. I'm going to start off with Commissioner Moore. I'm going to ask you again to lead us in an invocation. Please stand, everyone, if you are able.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this day, for this is the day that you have made and we will rejoice. We ask that you be with us today in this meeting. Help us to accomplish those things that will be pleasing in your sight. Help us to work in unity and love that we might get things done for our city. We ask you bless us and keep us. It's our prayer. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Madam Clerk, if you do a roll call for us, please.
Commissioner Lisa Canavito.
I don't think the mics are on, please.
Commissioner William Lloyd.
Present.
Commissioner Linda Moore.
Here.
Commissioner Cynthia Burton.
Here.
City Manager Derek Martin.
Here.
Finance Director Steve Conklin.
Here.
Crescent City Natural Gas Director Dave Frank.
Here.
And we have Miss Katie Hall.
Present.
And FGU representatives known tonight. Mayor Michelle Myers.
Present. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Then call on a roll. With that, I'm going to, Commissioners, you have on the agenda, and we've had an amended agenda to where they've added the discussion for, by Commissioner Newbold for the historic marker program. I believe that the gas discussion is going to be lengthy, so I don't know if everyone wants to consider taking this out of order.
Sure. I think it's a good idea.
Okay, is everyone in favor of that?
Yes.
Okay, then with that, we're going to go ahead and let's start our meeting with Commissioner Newbold.
Well, thank you for having me, J.R. Newbold, 566 Old Highway 17. I'm here with my Fruitland Peninsula Historical Society hat on today. So, again, thank you, Commission, Madam Chairman. So, thank you. First, I'd like to thank you all for participating in the 2025 Historic Marker Program that was such a success. Couldn't have done it without you guys. The installation help was fantastic. And I think it's kind of raised our profile in a small way. So we're excited to, I think you have received a handout that has some information. I'm not going to read the whole thing verbatim. I'll hit highlights and go from there. We're excited to announce that the next marker for 2026 will be dedicated to the Church of the Holy Comforter, a historic landmark built in 1878 by the Episcopal Diocese of Florida. This church is one of the oldest in our area and shares many design features with other Carpenter Gothic style churches built across Florida during the same time period. The cost for this second marker in our ongoing program is $3,270. Attached is a quote from CY Studios for $3,070, and that doesn't have that $200 freight involved. We would kindly request the city to consider financing half of the total cost in the amount of $1,635. Also provided in this packet is an edited copy of the text and a photograph of the style of the marker selected. You'll note that at the bottom of the sign, the phrase sponsored by the Fruitland Peninsula Historical Society in the city of Crescent City, 2026. And we would respectfully request your approval of the proposed wording on the marker and your assistance with the installation, along with any financial contribution that you're comfortable with. I feel like it's an important program. I think it lends to both just the historical significance for our residents, but also visitors who come and just check out Crescent City and see what our local, what we're like now, and what we were like back in the past. So we would appreciate any help that you could give with this project. If
Thank you.
you guys don't have any questions, that will wrap me up.
Commissioners, do you have an open and up for questions?
I guess I would like to share where I am on this and what I thought we were intended to do today. Okay, so Commissioner Lori and I both serve on the board of the Foothill Peninsula Historical Society. We do not discuss or suggest any opinion about issues that we may vote on in the commission. And we did not, with respect to this issue, there was a report about the status of the marker. And one of the other board members brought up that the wording at the bottom, which has been printed here, said, sponsored by Fruitland Peninsula Historical Society and the City of Crescent City, 2026. So it occurred to us that we had not come before the city to get the okay to include that language that says sponsored by, including the City of Crescent City. We didn't discuss it, but there was a consensus that we probably should not have the marker company cast the marker until that issue was given up or down. So I will say, it is my hope that the city will agree to have their name on the marker, because I think it's a great program and I think it's good for the city. So that was the issue that I expected to discuss today. And I don't know.
And that's on the current marker, that's in place?
Well, it's on the current marker that's in place,
And
but
that we helped with, we did the installation.
correct. But it's, I believe, and Commissioner Lori, you can speak to this because he's the one who is, he and I believe a couple other people on the board are handling the language for the Holy Comforter marker that is about to go into production. And that is the immediate issue as I understand it.
Yes, as Commissioner Didio said, I actually placed the order with C-Law that I've been dealing with and putting it all together. It's going to look the same colors, same design as the one at Albert House. We would like them, of course, to be consistent, and they all look the same. It really looks more attractive. This one being that it's going to be at the Holy Comforter Church, it won't actually be in the right of way, it'll be on their private property, kind of in their yard. They're still determining which way to turn it, which way they want to turn. But as Commissioner Didio said, we just wanted to make sure that the city is on board with us still, and that you guys are okay with the name on it. And like I said, it's in the queue to be manufactured, but it's not too late to change that if that's necessary.
To delete something, we can't really make huge changes, but to delete it. So,
Certain characters that I had to count out.
I have a concern. I think, do you want us to consider financing half of the total cost of being 1635?
I'd like you to consider that. We will be happy, we're gonna move forward with it, no matter what. Last year, the program was very successful. We were able to achieve help from the city with the placement of it.
The reason I'm asking is our budget's already in for 2026. Our budget is full. In other words, we've already budgeted our money out, okay, into 2026. And when we did that, even, last year, we couldn't get enough for, the Christian, everything was cut.
Or community
The library,
outreach,
our community
our community
things were cut,
that we have.
and things like that. I don't see where this is not in our budget for.
Okay, well, I would ask you to consider several things. We will continue, as long as there is community support, budgetary funds within the historical society and an enthusiasm from our membership. We're going to continue to try to do one per year, each year, until that enthusiasm wanes, our funds don't allow. I would ask you to consider funding it in the future. I would ask you to consider allowing the staff help for the placement of the marker in 2026. But I'd ask that you consider budgeting at some level for future markers.
It'll be a future budgeting topic on future budgets.
Yeah.
That's what I guess I'm trying to say. However, I mean, we did help by placing it, over at Molly's house, and I'm sure that we could probably do something like that again. I'm not sure, that's kind of on that though.
I believe the public works, employees.
Yeah.
Because it is it's heavy, it's solid aluminum, it's 200, 300 pounds. But they did a great job of installing it and making sure it was turning. Actually, they cut down the pole because the pole was too long. So, I mean, they did an amazing job. It looks amazing.
That looks great.
And even that week, it was raining. I was really worried that they weren't going to be able to do it, and I was pleasantly surprised. So, as long as the city is willing to help out with that, again, that would be very helpful, because we don't have the facilities to take it out of the crate, basically. But they will ship it here, and then we can have it taken care of in that, if Derek can help me out with that.
Yeah, last year, your staff, our city employees were a huge help. They were, cheerful, kind of came to them at the last minute, and they made it happen. We appreciate your efforts.
I think that was Ronnie and his team. Ronnie and his team made that happen.
Is that the one in front of the historical house?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, down there. They even found our stick, they even found our stick.
Mhm.
So, but last year, let me ask you this, when it came in, because he said, if you don't have the means, that's an additional $200 cost. Was that the same as last year? And how did we handle that last year?
What happened last year was, it actually was shipped to the residents in Winter Park,
Oh, that's right.
and then Mr. Miller brought it by U-Haul truck here, and then they took it out.
Yeah.
I was trying to avoid that this year and actually have it delivered here.
So it would be delivered here to the
And
city.
that's why there's the $200 lift gate charge, because we don't have a loading dock. But, as long as we can get it here and they can load it, I think they can handle it from that, so.
Is there any way to avoid that $200 with it being brought here?
I was wondering, but apparently the trucking company has a database, and it knows whether you have a forklift and have a loading dock. And so she told me if we were flagged as not having a loading dock, so you actually have to have it, they have a database and then it says that you
So
have.
wherever you
Right.
have it, whatever delivery address. So I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering with some of our businesses in town, we have several of them that I believe do have loading docks.
Yeah, I'm quite certain with enough advance notice, we could come up with a lift, a location for it. So we could probably get that people.
And then, and that's something that doesn't have to be necessarily worked out until they're ready to ship it, which would be April. So I'm willing and happy to, any suggestions we have. I do know that I was like, well, maybe I'll just put in the city hall address and see if that would work. And she came back and said, nope, trucking company has a flag. And I was like, oh, okay, that doesn't sound good. But we can make it work. I mean, I have a lot of faith in the city public works employees. They did a great job last year.
They did last year, just trying to see how you could avoid
Yeah,
that additional
yeah.
200 because
Yeah, every little bit helps.
every little bit helps. So I believe we've got two issues here. So Commissioner DeVito brought up the issue as to whether or not the city is in agreement with including them as a sponsor of this. So that would be one issue before us. And then are you asking us to vote on whether or not we can fund the second half today? Is that an answer? I guess you need something today. I mean, are you gonna go ahead with this at this time regardless?
The order is placed, so as it stands right now.
We're gonna go ahead with it regardless. And, the more help we can get from the community. Last year, we had, the help from the city with installation, which helped defer costs from us. We had budgeted funds from the historical society itself. Those two things together did not make the total. So we made it free to membership and members of the community as a whole. And we received donations from both our members and just folks from the community who are not members. So it's a popular, it was well received, and we were very pleased with the monetary participation we had just from people involved. So we will make it happen. And, but we accepted the ask and where it does.
So let's start with this, with whether or not the city is okay with being listed as a sponsor. So I guess that would be commissioners, if that's what you feel, if one of you feel strongly about it and want to make a motion, by all means, please do. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the proposed wording and leave it, saying that it's sponsored by the Fruitland Business Historical Society of the City of Crescent City.
Do we have a second? You said she's on the board. Yeah, she's on the actual board, on her board. So do I have a second for this?
I'll second it.
So you have a motion, so we have a proper motion and a second. And do we have any further discussion on this?
Well,
And it would be basically from that one, it's already printed as we go forward. I think it's the agreement that, and Derek, I think you've already basically stated in the commission, whether or not the commission is in favor of allowing our staff to continue to help with the installation.
right, so, I don't know if this is Commissioner Lori's intent, but my intent is that, it would be a positive thing, since this is part of the historic district, for the city to be included as a sponsor, if only in spirit, on behalf of the historic district, regardless of whether city staff assists. To me, that's a whole other question. And certainly regardless as to whether there's any contribution, because my feeling is, this is a special meeting. As Commissioner Burton pointed out, our budget is set, and I personally am not comfortable considering, any motion about contributing funds. And I would need to ask, the city attorney if Commissioner Lori and I could even vote on it. But so to me, I'm just putting this forward as a sponsorship, in just the spirit of support of our historic district and efforts.
And I add to that I think that, this is a partnership. If there's not money for, I know I was here with all of you when we budgeted this year for the city, and that's my fault. I didn't even bring it up, but I knew how tight it was. And so, that's on me, but, I didn't think it was the right time. And I just would like to make sure that the city is a partnership and continues to partner with, FHS. And if that just means, supplying some materials or some people, then that's still a partnership in my mind. So I'm fine with that. I just like the fact that we're working together, which I think is very important.
Okay, so now,
So what they're asking is regardless, because they've got to get the wording, they have to get the wording to this company, because it's so far advanced. So basically what they're saying, are we okay with them including the city of Crescent City as one of the sponsors? Be it in spirit, or be it in installation, or if later, at a later date, we find the funds, whatever, at this time. That's where we are right now, is just making sure that the city is okay, so they can go forward with their proper wording. Does that make sense? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's where we are right now. So do we have any other discussion on this? Okay, with that, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burton,
I,
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Lori,
Aye.
Commissioner DeVito,
Aye.
Mayor Myers.
Aye. So approved, thank you. And I think as we go forward, as you did, we can discuss further, if we want to put it on the agenda. Something else that we can consider, and I think we should, talk to our attorney about this, and also, our finance director, that, we have the opportunity, and oftentimes when people, pay a bill, if they can, if we have a cause that somebody would like to round out their dollars or something to, if we have that capability. And that way the entire community has an opportunity, not just those people that are in this room, or those people that are part of the historical society, but the entire community. So I think as we go forward, that's something that maybe we can talk about, entertain. And, so, anyway, with that, Commissioner Newbold, thank you for your presentation. And I guess we're gonna take this under advisement or consideration at a later date, that if in fact we do find those funds, is that correct, Commissioner? That we will bring it forward again.
Can I ask a question?
You know, we would like-
I saw, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, yes, keep us in mind, we thank you for your cooperation and look forward to working with you more in the future. It'll be a great program.
Thank you. I was just gonna ask, I saw where the quotation was for 90 days, meaning the quote's good for 90 days, but when is the pencils down? When is the money actually due in this case?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's in the queue to be manufactured. I believe we pay on shipping when they actually send it to us.
Okay.
Because I haven't put in.
That would be in the spring.
In the springtime.
Yeah, where the whole idea is to hopefully unveil it in May during National Preservation Month. Like we did last year, we're timing worked out great. And we were trying to make sure that we didn't get behind and have to rush like we did last year, so we started. And still, it seems like the time ran out, but it's in production now.
And then the other thing we have is with the installation, Mr. Martin has said, I believe he said that he would, staff would help with
Yes,
that. Does the
absolutely.
commission want a formal vote on that? Do you want to do that this time, or do you want to do that at a later date?
I think the day is getting long.
I'm just I'm putting this out here, we have to make a decision, so it's here before us, so let's act on it. So either we put it off until another time as we get closer to that, and we can put it on the agenda. Is everyone okay with that?
Yes. Fine, it's fine.
Now, what is this about?
And that's for the installation.
Installation.
That's for the installation. Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, okay. Everybody's good with that? Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, and with that, we're going to move on. If everyone is ready. Did we vote? Yeah, we did. You're right, Commissioner DeVito, the day is carrying on. So now we're going to open it up. We have a presentation by Florida Gas Utility. Who wants to?
If I could
Hello, Mr. Holmes.
Early,
Is that Mr. Holmes?
You're good.
Present. Hello and welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. Hopefully you all remember me. I'm Katie Hall, Florida Gas Utility, I'm General Manager and CEO, and I also have with me today Tom Jeffrey, our Finance Manager, and our other Finance Manager, Steve Prato. That sounds confusing because Tom is officially retiring, and so we have filled his replacement. So we have two Finance Managers today. So I know we've been talking about this is kind of the ongoing conversation we've been having about the future of your gas system. So as promised, you are going to be seeing a lot of us in the coming months, and we're going to just keep kind of chugging along in this process. So today's kind of an update. You're not going to hear as much from me, so you'll get a little break. But I just want to kind of make sure that we just keep hearing a consistent message. So with the presentation that's in front of you, if you need a copy, do we have one more copy over there?
I'm good, that's all right. No, you're fine.
Okay.
I got it right here.
So on slide number 2, so basically just as a recap, the city had reached out to FGU to ask us to develop a plan for the gas department due to Dave Frank's retirement and some others also retiring in the department. We presented a couple times talking about options to either sell the system or keep the system with a variety of considerations that were open for discussion. And at the June 11, 2025 council meeting, it was determined that we should keep the system, and we created a sustainability plan of what steps we would pursue to kind of turn the gas system around and prepare it for Mr. Frank's departure. On slide 3, this was the recommendation at that June council meeting that was approved, that we were going to continue to work towards hiring new staff. That was obviously the main focus we needed to have. And part of that discussion was then looking at those salary bubbles. And so what we did at that time was we said we had a phase 1 and a phase 2 approach to our sustainability plan. Phase 1 was focused on performing a rate study. And in that rate study, we wanted to include those higher salary ranges based on some of your neighboring competition, as well as already put third-party costs in there, or some of the sales and marketing, some of the other things we want to do for the system. Let's put all that into a rate study, and then let's see how that comes out, and then we can have a discussion of steps going forward. So today, that's what Tom Jeffrey is going to present to you as the results of that rate study, and where you guys fall. Then, after he presents this, we're talking about our rate stabilization fund. He'll go into more detail on that and what his proposal is. And then you'll hear from me at the end, and we'll talk about then your next steps, which would include that hedging program, and then our phase 2, which is the sales and marketing and public awareness program. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Jeffrey.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Tom Jeffrey, Finance Manager, CFO for Florida Gas Utility. Here perhaps in my final appearance before you. Many of you have seen me multiple times.
And what are you gonna do with yourself?
Good to see you again. So I'm gonna talk about our rate study. And that starts on page 4 of the handout. We've performed several of these in the past at your request. And you've increased the rates each time that we've asked you to do so. And you've requested another study for this year. And as Katie said, part of the reason for that is we wanted to get the sustainability plan elements into the rate study. Make sure that if we need to increase rates again, we do so to cover all of those expenses. So all of that is in the rate study. And just as a historical reference here, back in October of this year, you increased natural gas rates to your customers, residential and commercial, both $2 a month. The customer charge went up, the fixed charge from residential $16 to $18 a month. Commercial went from $20 to $22. However, even after those increases, when we look at the numbers, the city is still short on its revenues by about 10% or about $50,000 per year. So going into this, we worked with David Frank a lot and Derek as well, the city manager. And there are 3 goals that we were asked to achieve. One is to eliminate that 10% revenue shortfall. 2 is right now, all commercial customers, from the very smallest to your largest, all pay the same rates. That's not typical in natural gas utilities. You have different categories for commercial accounts depending upon their annual usage. So we wanted to create a small and large commercial rate classifications. And we wanted to ensure that somewhere along the line, we got off track a little bit on customers outside the city limits. The variable charge was set at 10% higher than the customers within the city limits. That's because you have a utility tax that you charge 10% to your inside the city customers. You can't charge it to your outside city. You don't have that taxing authority. You only have the authority inside your city. And so you had set the rates at one time about 10% higher for outside. This will get you back to that if you approve what we proposed. So we went through the normal machinations and came up with and created a small and a large classification. The break point is 1,200 units a year. So if they use 1,200 units, you go in cubic feet. Then they're at 1,200 or less in a small classification. Over 1,200, they're in the large classification. That was the natural break point when I looked at the data. Okay. So the city manager has asked that we look at another increase in rates in the March-April timeframe, 2026. And based on our work, we're proposing the following increases, as you can see. Inside the city, residential is a $3 a month increase regardless of your usage. We're proposing just to increase the customer charge. Outside the city, residential goes up a little bit more because they weren't quite on the variable charge 10%, so that adds a little bit more to their increase. Similar for the small commercial and also for the large commercial. You see the large commercial outside, $13.41 a month increase for the typical usage for them. And if you approve these increases, they are expected to generate an additional approximate $50,000 in annual revenues for the system. If you look at the next several pages, and we won't go through these in detail, but I will go through the first one with you, and then it applies equally to everyone. So this is a cost of service schedule that we prepare that compares the present rates to the proposed rates. The rate classification you see in the middle of the, top middle part, the rate schedule is residential inside. So this is what you would charge your residential customers inside. On the left-hand side at the top is the Crescent rates, and the right-hand side at the top is the proposed rates. You can see the only proposed change is the $3 for the customer charge. We do increments of usage to look at a bill, on each of these incremental usages of 5. It says therms, it's really cute, it's 500 cubic feet. The typical usage is 15 units per month, okay? So if you look at below, you have therm usages from 0 up to 50. You have the next column is present monthly fuel without, monthly bill without the fuel. The next column over to the right is the monthly present bill with fuel. And then we have the proposed without fuel, proposed with fuel. So you can kind of see fuel is going to be the same regardless of what your rates are because you're trying to recover your actual cost of gas. So with a typical usage of 15 units, without fuel, that's just under a 10% increase. With fuel, it's just over an 8%. But over on the right-hand side, regardless of what they use, because we've only increased the customer charge, the bill's going to go up $3 a month. Okay? And this is that way for every rate classification that we talked about on the previous slide. So you have that sheet for each of those classifications and you can take a look at. What you will notice is for most, for all of these, the ones with the low usage get a higher percentage increase. Okay? And that's just the math. That's just the way it works. Okay? And that, quite frankly, is where you're probably running short on your revenues, is the people who don't use very much, because you have all the costs necessary to provide service to them, and to another customer who uses a lot of gas, that's the same thing. But the person who doesn't use much or uses little, you're not getting as much revenue from. So we can flip ahead here, unless you have questions on any individual category. If you do, I'd be happy to answer them here.
Commissioner, does anybody have questions? Do you, Commissioner?
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
One, and I apologize, you probably told us this before. What is inside and outside?
Inside the city limits,
Oh, I'm sorry.
customers, and
Got it.
outside the city limits,
Sorry,
customers.
I should have figured that out. Thank you.
Sure.
And the other thing is, in the event that we develop more residents and more businesses in the city, would that help us keep from having to do further increases, or even potentially, if we have more customers on the system, allow us to actually reduce some of these increases?
Well, growth is key to any utility, quite frankly, in particular natural gas. If you're not growing, your system's dying because your costs are going to continue to go up. You're going to pay people more, inflation, those type of things, health insurance, all that's going up. So sales and marketing is key, and that's part of the overall plan.
Okay.
As well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on
Thank
the rates?
I have one.
Yes,
If that's
absolutely.
okay. Just,
No, you can't ask questions.
just, Commissioner, I know that you put some charts here and had some rate comparisons with other select utilities.
I'm getting to that.
Okay, very good. I just want them to get the full round of questions on that,
Absolutely,
please.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
You're moving too quickly.
yes.
You're jumping ahead, you're jumping ahead.
If you don't have any current questions on each residential, rate classification, and we'll move on. If you review this later and have questions, please let us know. We'll be happy to get you the answers. So then that takes us to slide 7 on the PowerPoint presentation. I'm sorry, is that 7?
Yep.
Yes, that's right, rate comparisons, right. So in here, right after this slide, is a comparison of the residential and small commercial rates to other utilities around you. And those that, if you had chosen to sell, you probably would be selling to one of these investor-owned utilities. So you'll be able to see what their rates are. So the page right after this is a rate schedule residential service. This is your inside the city rates, okay? And so you have on the left-hand column is the type of charges that you see. You see the customer charge, you see a distribution charge, that's a variable, depends on how much you use, how much volume you use. The commodity charge, that's the recovery of the cost of gas. And then the investor-owned utilities have various other surcharges that they collect for as well. Moving to the right, the first four columns of entities are all investor-owned utilities. In other words, they're not owned by a city. They're owned by shareholders. They issue stock. They're regulated by the Florida Public Service Commission. So if they want to change their rates, they need to make a filing with the Florida Public Service Commission. It's open to the public. Everyone gets to participate. It goes through a rigorous process with PSC staff. And ultimately, the utility is granted some type of rate increase typically. After that, you see, going over to the right, you see several municipal-owned systems that are our members as well. So you have Lake City, you have Clearwater, Defuniak Springs, Palatka, Stark, Williston, et cetera. Some of those are small. Some of those are very large. Like Clearwater's got 25,000 customers. Okay, you have about 1,300 or so. So what you can see though is that at the bottom, the typical, just comparing the typical monthly usage for everyone and looking at the bill amount, if you approve the new proposed rates, that bill for your customer would be $40.28. Okay? If you look at the investor-owned, Central Florida Gas, Florida Public Utilities, Florida City Gas is well above that. People's Gas System, they just recently reduced their commodity charge. They were up around 80 or 90 cents, and they just reduced it to 50. So it's skewing their numbers a little bit. And they're coming out of a rate increase, and I don't have the new rates that haven't been approved yet, so I don't know what they are, but their rates are going up, according to their literature, by at least 5%. So, and they're pretty much even with you. And then if you look at the municipalities, some are lower, some are higher. Like Lake City hasn't changed their rates in probably 8 or 9 years. Clearwater, they have a lot of customers, so their rates are going to tend to be a little bit lower. But then you see Defuniak and Palatka and Stark all a little bit lower than you. And Williston, they just went through a process similar to yours where they didn't have any staffing in the gas department, et cetera. And they did this with all their utilities. They upgraded everything, and their rates are now very high because of that, including in natural gas. And then the second page, it does that with your small commercial. And the results are very similar. The investor-owned utilities tend to have higher rates than the municipalities. And your rates compared to your fellow municipal members are pretty similar if you approve these proposed rates. Any questions on any of that? No. So bottom line is, if you approve these proposed rates and you implement them, that you'll still have rates that are very consistent with your other municipal systems and look generally lower than the investor owns.
Mayor, I do have a question.
Yeah.
So, is it correct, am I remembering this correctly, that small commercial would include, for example, a church?
Correct.
Okay, and, because I believe the Methodist Church has a huge kitchen with a wonderful gas stove, so that would affect them. Do you have any idea, just looking at this, what the percent or dollar increase would be to that small commercial?
Sure. If you go back to the other section,
Okay,
to the small commercial,
okay,
which would be the third one in, you'll see that rate comparison.
okay, thank you.
Within the city, so you make it inside.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
And I've asked David about this before, why is it that we keep increasing the customer charge and not look at the per therm or the distribution and commodity charge? Because I've heard this from several people that, they have a house that's empty, they're not using, maybe it's rental or something, and they're paying $120 a month for utilities that nobody's using. And I understand from our, perspective that, they're trying to cover costs, but, have we looked at, and when was the last time that we did anything about our per therm or our distribution of commodity charge? The commodity is like the cost of fuel, right?
Correct.
So
That's really just a recovery of costs.
Okay, so but the distribution charge,
That's where some of your profits come from.
because I noticed in here, real estate was $1.01, you
Right,
know, which is almost 20 cents higher than us.
sure.
Is that not something, I mean, to me, it seems like people that are using more should be paying more, and not everybody have to pay more. You know, I don't know, I'm just wondering what the rationale is behind that.
So a couple things there. One, I look at the efficiency of the rates. Okay, how efficient are they at actually generating the revenue you need? The most efficient is the customer charge, because as long as that meter's turned on, you're gonna get that charge. Okay? So if you wanna make sure you're getting the $50,000 in this instance, the easiest way to do it and the most efficient way to do it is through the customer charge. If you increase the distribution of the variable charge, you have several things working against you, right? If the house has been renovated or is new, it's a lot tighter. You don't use as much because the outside cold doesn't come in or the heat. The household sizes are lower. People aren't having as many children, so you have less people inside the home, so less usage. And the appliances are much more efficient than they were 10 or 15 years ago. So if you increase the distribution charge, your odds of getting the $50,000 in revenues that you need go down because people may not be cold this winter. Okay? So a lot of things are working against you on a usage basis. The appliances are much more efficient, the house is tighter thermally, etc. As far as who should pay, if somebody wants the service, they should pay for the service, whether they're using it or not. Your costs don't change. You are making it available for them to use, just like you are if they use 1 million cubic feet or 0. The cost to you is the same. And the cost to the customer should bear that cost. If they don't want the service, natural gas is an optional service. They don't need to have natural gas. They can switch to propane, they can go all electric, they can do whatever they want. So, I would say that in my estimation, those that don't use very much are the very customers that you want to charge more because they're not paying their fair share. They're being subsidized by those that are using more than they are.
That's an answer.
It just doesn't seem right, does it?
Well, yeah, I'm looking at it as a sense of fairness. I understand we're a business, and I understand we have to make, or at least cover our costs, but we also need to be fair to our residents, because they aren't just customers, they're our neighbors, and they are the residents that live here and that we charge a lot of property taxes to, and everything else. And I personally have a gas dryer, I have a tankless water heater, I have a range and oven, and if you bump up my prices, I can't just throw all those out and get new ones. So it seems like that it might be efficient from a business standpoint, but it's also kind of screwing our residents. To say, we're just gonna bump it up and who cares if you use it or not. So I mean, I wanna look at it from both ways. It seems like, you know, there's, I don't know, it just seems like that's kind of I understand you're saying it's the most efficient way, well, that is the fairest way. I have a doubt in that mind, from that standpoint.
Well,
That's just my feeling.
sure. And that's up to you to decide how you want to do it. If you want to change the distribution charge, we can rerun the numbers, that's no problem. I will point this out though, you may not think it's fair to the zero or low consumption, but is it fair to the high consumption, say you gotta pay $20 or $30 more than you should because someone's not using anything? Somebody's gonna lose in that. Just depends on who you want it to be.
The other
You're gonna get the revenues.
Right.
The other thing is it does actually on the flip side then during cold weather, like you get a lot of people then that have rate shock, right? Because then if your variable charge is high and you have a cold month, where when it's fixed, that variable charge then is they're not gonna pay a much higher amount for that 1 month, right? It's gonna kind of smooth that cost over the whole year versus hitting them on the maybe 2 months a year, you get that really, really cold weather and their variable charge then is very high. So it's more of a budgeting perspective.
If I may, I'm sorry to interrupt. If you have a comment, please come to the microphone, just for our system that we utilize to capture the minutes. It won't pick you up over there. We really need to capture all that.
I was gonna let Katie finish, but that's for
Sorry.
everybody, and that's another thing, and I apologize, I meant to say that at the beginning of the meeting, is that it also can't, and we speak over each other. So, commissioners, we're usually very good about trying not to do that, so.
I just have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So really, what you're talking about is, I mean, they incorporate these kinds of things with electricity as well. They have these rate stabilizations where it's higher in the summer, or how do they do it so that your monthly bill is the same throughout the whole year? Okay, even depending on whatever you're using, right? So you might usually if you're using more, for us, I think I might be wrong, I'm from Vermont, and up north, that's when we spent the money to stay warm. But down here, it's really sometimes to stay cold.
Yeah.
So the summertime is when our bills go way up, and then the wintertime, it kind of comes down. But what this does is, I mean, I had a bill over $250, I think, this summer, which was very high. It was the first one I've seen like that. And electrical, okay? And now it's like down to almost nothing. And it's like I can't wait for winter, so I have some extra money. But I can understand that's kind of what you're trying to do here, correct?
That certainly the fixed charge does, it's the same every month.
Right.
So some utilities like Florida Power and Light and other utilities like them, they offer what's called budget billing. So your amount is the same, but what they don't always talk about is at the end of the year, you have a true up. Okay? So, because they're not gonna give it to you at that monthly price if you use more than,
Right.
okay? So you have to true it up at the end of the year.
FPL actually does a rolling true up, so you're constantly, they don't just wait till the end of the year and hit you with it. I have budget billing, and I've had it for 4 years, and every month it's like either 121 or 123, it goes up and down, but stays very steady. If you look at my, the Camelback, or whatever you want to say, my billing for the winter is really low. I think I actually used $60 of electricity this last month, but during the summer I used $180 of electricity. So it balances it all out, so, which is very, very handy.
I think, I think I kind of agree with what BJ's saying. It just sounds very confusing what you're saying, is that people that use less pay a higher rate.
Well, they pay the same
They
rates,
pay the same rates.
right, but they just don't have any usage, so their bill looks high
Or is
for
it,
actually not using very much because they're paying a $20 customer charge. And if they don't use anything, well, I
so
pay
you have a
$20.
set charge then that you always pay?
You're right, that's called the customer charge on all these
Okay.
sheets here.
That's what I guess wasn't, making sense to me, so.
And that's there, and that's paid because you have invested the facilities to provide them a meter, a regulator, a service line, a distribution main, a gate station, for them to be ready to use it.
Now,
If they don't choose to use it or not, that's not on you, that's on them.
what if I'm a snowbird and I say, well, okay, come, March or April or everything, I'm headed north again, do I shut that off? I'm not
That's
charging
what
anything.
typically happens, is customers will call and have their meter turned off and then
Okay,
turn back on
Okay,
when they get back into town.
I think I kind of get what you're saying. I didn't realize that rate was always present.
Yes.
It's temporary.
That's customer charges every month. Every time you send them a bill, it'll have that customer charge on it.
Thank you.
So I have on-demand, that is the only gas, I have on-demand water heater, that's the only gas that I have at my house. And you're saying you have the washer, you have everything, that's why your electric was so much lower. But my customer charge is gonna be the same as his customer charge. Okay. I'm gonna come over and start doing all my water.
Okay. Just cover it in Washington.
I just wanna make sure that everybody, for clarification, that
Sure.
it doesn't matter. We're all paying that, we're all gonna be paying that same amount, regardless of if
What
we
you
have
use,
one, if
what
we have
funds.
none, as long as you have that meter on the property and it's an active meter, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Because you still have to do a leak survey of that service line, you have to inspect the meter and the regulator, you have to pay it from time to time, all of that, so regardless of how much is being used. Okay, any other questions on the rate study?
On these, tables that have the rate comparisons, do you think you could put in our current rate to compare? I know anytime I usually see proposed rate, you have the current rate in there too, just to compare. Because it's kind of hard to look at this and figure out, well, what is that difference? And I guess it's on the other page.
For each, they're $3, the customer charge would be $3 less, and the bill would be $3
It's
less.
just to look at comparison.
Sure, be happy to do that.
Mayor, if I could, that's what I was asking about before, and I could not really find the figure on the other pages, just trying to look through. So at some point, if you could show us the difference, that would really be helpful.
Sure.
Yeah, and it would, and like, if you look at the small commercial inside, presently it shows, the present bill, and that's just based on the therm usage, that you've broken that down.
Correct.
Okay.
And again, with them, it's a $3, the proposed rate was $3 increase for the customer charge only. Everything else stayed the same.
Everything's okay.
No, the large commercial customers, that's a graded category.
That's correct.
So then they're going from the rate that they're currently paying to a much higher rate.
Correct.
Okay. And that's in here, right? It's,
And how would we determine what would be considered a small and what would be considered a large?
If they use 1,200, if they use 1,200 units a
That would
year
be-
or large
that would
or
be
more,
great. Okay.
they're large. If they use under that, they're small.
Do we know how many we have?
Yes.
How many of those do we have?
That's a good question.
I don't have that information. You have right at 100 commercial overall.
I've got,
And I think it was like 35 were large and 65 were small, thereabouts, but they have that information.
I know that you were talking about PSC and investor utilities, they obviously go through a much more intensive process to discuss rate changes. What are our, responsibilities under Florida statute when it comes to rate changes, as far as noticing, because obviously we serve customers that are outside of Crescent City. I just want to make sure that we're doing this properly. Are there any sort of rules laid out by the state?
That's really a question for your city attorney, that, it's done through ordinance, I believe, typically.
I think what he's, and Commissioner Moy, maybe, my take on what you're asking is the PSC, how are they regulating? Are they regulating us as far as that what you're?
No, they don't regulate us.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying, that's what I think you're,
Yeah, I'm just wondering.
how does that work with the PSC, with us doing a rate increase?
And just the rules, as far as making sure that we're legally notifying everyone. Because if it's just an ordinance, that to me doesn't seem like it should quite cover everybody. Do you know, Tom? Sorry.
I'm not familiar with any particular requirements for any sort of study or justification. Typically, when the city of Palaca raises their guest water raises their rates, they have of course, a board, and their board that considers the need, justification, and moves, accordingly. I'm sure they put some notice on a bill or something like that, but I don't remember any sort of particular notice or advance notice of a hearing or anything like that.
I just wanted to make sure, because
My understanding, and again, I'm not the attorney, is that you have it on two readings.
like for just.
And they have to be properly noticed and.
We would have to do it with our rate increases, just like we did when we did our budget, we have to do it that way. So it's so I'm gathering is from the PSC, the only thing they look at is basically our operations, how we operate, correct, not our rates.
That's right, that you only fall under the Public Service Commission jurisdiction for safety related items. And that's your operating
That's our operations.
business.
Thank you.
Okay, we have any other questions on this before we go to rate stabilization?
Did we find out how many large,
I'm sorry?
Did
the
Dave-
large community or large commercial customers?
I think they said.
It looks like you got about, give or take, 75 small and 25 large.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Moving on, next is the rate stabilization fund, and this goes back to, this is close to budget billing, not quite, but this is intended to look at just the fuel rate and recovery of your fuel only, okay? So this is a fund that acts basically as a stabilizer of your fuel costs to your customers over the year. Because what typically results in an unhappy customer or a call to your customer service is someone gets an unusually large bill that they weren't expecting. And most of the time, they're not expecting it because you bill in arrears. So it could be 40 or 50 days from the cold weather before they actually get a bill. And they won't remember that, so they call in. But this helps keep your fuel costs relatively consistent to your customer throughout the year. The natural gas industry is, and the natural gas as a commodity is the most volatile commodity there is. It moves more than any other commodity like corn, apples, pork bellies, any of that. They are very stable. Natural gas fluctuates every day, and it can fluctuate greatly every day and every month. And typically it's because the market setters for prices are up north. They're not here in Florida. We don't set the prices. We don't consume as much in Florida as they do up north. And so when it gets really cold in the wintertime, prices go up. When it's warm in the summertime, prices come back down. And so a rate stabilization fund gives you an opportunity, generally speaking, in the summer months to increase what you're collecting on your fuel. You're basically going to over-collect to build up this fund, and then in the winter months when the prices go up, you're going to use that to help keep the price you bill to your customer lower than it otherwise would be. Okay, and that's basically the concept here. And so the things that would need to be done to establish a rate stabilization fund is to establish a target range for that. And then just basically, I'm not sure if you even have to do anything but approve it on one of your agendas and set an effective date for it, because you're not really changing anything. You're still doing basically what you're doing. You're just adding a tool to the toolbox, basically. Okay. And what I did have a handout, part of your package here. Lake City is doing this. They have about 4,000 customers or so they're larger than you are. Their typical bill from us is probably 4 times what your bill is. They have a range between 300 and 500,000. You don't need that much. You probably need 25 to 50,000. And if you keep that balance in that range, then you're in good shape to keep the fuel part of your bill as consistent as possible. And it's one of the services that we offer to our members if you want us to help you do that and to make sure that all the accounting is correct for that. We're more than happy to do it. We do it for Lake City and 1 or 2 other of our members as well. The example here, I'll just go over very quickly. This is basically 13 months worth here. You have what we build our members. This is Lake City. So what we build Lake City in the first column over from the left. You see we're billing them $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a month. Okay. The actual therms that they sold to their customer, as you can see, is 500,000 therms or more a month. So the actual cost, if you just took those and divided it by each other, would be like for October 24, the top line, 0.583583. What we suggested they bill is 55 cents, so they under collected by about 3 cents, so that brought their rate stabilization fund down for that month. Okay, they were under collected by about $17,000 that month. And then you go into the summer months and you see that reverse. And they start building that fund back up and try to go into the winter months as close to the top end of that range as they can. And then they hope to come out of that at the bottom range of that range. Okay. And so it's just basically that. It just stabilizes that fuel charge to your customers so that they don't see an unusually high bill in the winter months and a low bill in the summer months.
And so we set the amount, or are we just looking at a range and looking to try and figure out what we want the range to stay at for per firm? How do you go about this?
Typically, it's a range because it's hard, prices aren't, it's nice to say they're always higher in the winter and lower, but they're not. You look at December, the actual price is only 50 cents. Okay, and we actually charged them 60 cents, so we actually were collecting. But that was an unusual, probably because it was very warm up north. I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, there's all kind of events all over the place, and sometimes they don't make sense.
Right, so having a range just gives you a little bit of flexibility there.
So from what I see here, Lake City's ranges from 65 cents to, on the high side, of 37.
Yeah, prices
37.
came way down here, so we were able to lower it and still keep their reserves for their stabilization balance very high, almost at the top of the range.
But this is the sort of thing we can kind of set it and forget it, and you guys can figure out how to do it.
Correct.
It's not gonna require us, or it's not gonna require.
We'll have some accounting.
council figuring this out every month. It's something that
No,
will be kind of set in a spreadsheet like this,
correct.
which I'm very much in favor of this, because I'm one of those people that every month when I get my bill, I'm like, I use less gas, but I try to pay more. I always confuses me. But it's, I think some sort of, ability to forecast for our customers is stability is important always.
Any other questions right now?
All right, well, thank you very much. I'm gonna turn this back over to Katie for next steps.
All right, so next step, so you actually just kind of set it up perfect for me when you said stability. So for two different ways here, stability from a perspective of your gas department. So with the rate study presentation that Tom gave earlier, that did include those higher salary ranges. So I don't know if we're taking any formal action today, or if we're just having a discussion and maybe taking action at the next council meeting. But as soon as you guys tell us that those salary ranges are approved officially, we will help develop them. If they're, if Dave Frank already has them ready to go, we can help post them in various industry-related publications, e-blasts, online, help get them to the right audiences to help get those filled. And try to get as much training and overlap as possible. And if we're not successful with that, we still have a little bit of time to figure out if we need third-party intervention to at least get a stopgap. The other part of stability, talking about your rates, is the hedging program. So that's just one more tool to help reduce some of the volatility in the market. Just like Tom said, gas jumps around more than any other commodity. So putting the hedging program is setting some parameters and some guide rails, if you will, to stay within, to help kind of keep your gas costs from running away from the market. So those would be next steps that we can present back. We know holidays are coming, so we figure maybe January, February, give us a little bit of time. We don't want to try to cram all this in during the holidays.
So, yes.
I was just gonna comment that as far as the job openings, we probably need to do that as soon as possible.
Well, I think before we get into this, I'd like to know if somebody can give us where we currently sit with our current state of our natural gas department.
Yeah,
How many jobs do we have that are gonna be open? Where are we currently? I know we have one employee that is it still out? Do you want to? Okay, I think before we go into job openings and salaries and where are we, what's the state of our department right now?
Right now, we've got 4 employees in the field.
4 in the field?
4 in the field.
Okay,
John Turney says he will retire when I retire. I don't know if he's gonna stick with that or not. What my actual date now is depends on when we get this grant program completed. And we may be looking at April, May next year, because they still haven't started building our material yet. yet. So we're waiting on that. Brandon, if his parents move, he's moving with them because he lives at home, he has a child and he's a single parent. So the only one that's gonna stay full-time is Logan. So we're gonna be very short-staffed. And I haven't really sent anybody off for training yet because I don't know exactly what we're gonna do. And if somebody's gonna leave, I don't wanna spend money on training them, or you're gonna retire. So that really leaves Logan to send him off to school. I can send him to DeLand. They have some training schools up there now.
When you say 4 in the field, that doesn't include you.
No.
So we've got JT, Brandon, and then we have Logan,
Logan,
and then
Mike, and Duke,
Dimmaduk,
and
okay.
Logan.
So we do have we would have those two.
What are your optimum staffing levels? What do you need to operate the system efficiently?
Really, the PS, we were down as 3, the Public Service Commission was gonna put a violation on us. They said, it's not that we have so many customers, we're spread out. We start in East Palaca, come to here, go all the way over to Palaca. So you have a 30-minute drive time from here to our furthest north customer, provided you don't get stuck in traffic. So it's a safety standpoint there. So when we went back to 4 full-time employees, they backed off. They were happy with that. But when I started here, there was 9 of us. You know, so, but that also included our meter reader. I don't consider our meter reader, Corey is his own department. So Corey doesn't count.
You don't have the automated meters, they don't self-read.
Yeah, well, I wish we could, but that'd be about $850,000 to do that, so.
Just asking.
Yeah.
So your optimal staffing, or maybe optimal is not the right word, but the staffing that you need to maintain in the field in order to avoid PSC issues would be 4.
At least 4, yes.
Plus a manager.
Yes, plus a manager, yes.
Anybody else?
That would probably do it, provided we have a full-time meter reader, because in the past, when our meter readers left, I've had to go in the field and do that training. They didn't like the job, they left, so that's the most boring job there is, you know, but it's an important job. We had one that was not doing his job correctly, and it hurts really bad.
He overcharged, that was when they overcharged, Cody, is that correct?
Well, they were just taking guesstimate.
They were guesstimating, they were
weren't getting the right numbers down.
Um,
So, that's an issue, but
and so they had to play catch up with that,
Yes.
the customers.
JT, how's he doing? Is he coming back?
oh, he came back about 2 weeks ago, but he was out for like 11 weeks, 12 weeks. He had open heart surgery and.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to get into everything now.
Oh, that's all right. It's
So I
fine.
just wanted to make sure that he's okay.
So he is
He's
back.
Yes, he's back.
So what level of training do all of those 4 need to have?
2 of them that I have, and one worked here 10 years ago, and he had some training, not a whole lot. He worked for the water department, came over to us, so he would need to be caught up to
I mean,
date.
what qualifications do they need to have? Forget about who they are right now, but if you had 4 people there, what would you be looking for in terms of all of the qualifications for all of them?
They would all need to know your standards of gas, that they need to do gas installation. They all need to have their hand in gas compliance repairs, because we do a lot of that. But mainly it's field work as far as maintenance of your pipeline, being able to do the surveys, like big surveys. The PSC has many surveys we have to do every year to be in safety compliance. And that takes a while because we're so spread out. I mean, you may take a month or 6 weeks to do one survey, provided you're not, interrupted or whatever. But a lot of my employees, 2 of them do not have that training yet. So when JT leaves and I leave, basically the main training is gone. So we have an employee that can dig holes and do all that, but it's the certifications. And that's where I was just caught on the Public Service Commission, which just did our yearly evaluation. We had some violations there, but we've caught up, we've made up for it already. But,
I think we should kind of move along. My only last question would be, looking at these salaries that you said, should kind of be, I guess these are the ones that we really should, pay. We're not paying this year, these salaries.
But that was where Tom's rate study was to make up for those ones.
And that's what I was getting to, is what salary level do you have to attract folks that have the minimal qualifications that you require in the field? That was the whole
I
idea.
would say probably at least $20 an hour.
I'll be surprised.
Somebody young, if they're, it seemed like in their 30s or whatever, they probably want more, but a beginner person, a lot of your bigger systems, which I'm sure Tom or Katie can tell me, your bigger systems, as far as an initial new employee, hands-on skills, where are they starting at around?
So
Low
it's
20s?
in the plan there, yeah, and that is based on, so that has two things into account, that's other entities in the state, but that's also very close to what Palaca pays, which is your, very, so we try to match that as closely as we can.
What block of phase, okay.
So there's a couple ranges, because I think there's like the introductory, and then I think there's like 3 tiers, right? I believe.
Yeah,
Yes, that's what it looks like.
but I mean, it's all almost, it's all pretty tight.
And we try and train all of our employees to multitask. You don't want it like you're the blue shirt, you're the red shirt, or whatever. We want everybody to be multi, because being a small staff in a big system, you may not be doing this today, you might be doing something else, but for the Public Service Commission, your OT plan and training, you can't just do a task because you know how to do it. If you don't have the certification, sorry, I don't care how good you are, you're not qualified. So that is an issue there with training and everything, but it's a safety standpoint. You can get sued over just because you didn't have the qualification, and
Also a safety standard for the
that's
employees.
yes, sir.
Mayor, may I ask a question? Thank you. So, and I guess this is a question from Ms. Hall and Dave, it's my understanding that this entire plan is based on current economic realities. As you said, the recommended staffing is based on data. And what you think will get us the qualified people that we need, who have to be multi-capable, similar to the way, in some ways, people are here at City Hall because it's a small operation. But so it's my understanding that essentially we can't do the hiring. I think you say right here in these nice documents. First, we would have to agree to change the rates and the stabilization plan to have the funds to support the hiring. Do I have that right?
You don't necessarily have to do that, but we recommend that you do
Well,
that,
because
yes.
we are currently running at a 10% revenue
Correct.
deficit. So, if we implemented the new hiring without the changes in the rates, then we would be at a further deficit.
Correct.
Only, I know from looking at our budget in general, and I apologize, I forgot to bring our budget, that these salaries are an increase, but I can't say exactly how much.
Well, you're taking this is just the
Right.
salary dollars, these are
Right.
not all everything else that's involved in that, our benefits.
Was that
Right.
rate study?
The
other benefits, was that rate study?
Did you included the benefits in that? Okay.
Okay, so they do, but I mean, essentially, this is, y'all are very thoughtful, and this is the plan that you have. If we want to be staffed with in-house employees and attract people, this is what you're recommending we move forward to do.
Correct, and we, to be clear, we can post the jobs at your current salary ranges and see.
Right.
I just experience, because we have a lot of cities going through hiring processes right now, and they have rates higher than yours and are still struggling. So,
Well, and Mayor, if I could continue. Is it
Sure.
okay? Okay, so as I understand it,
Question you said.
I mean, we asked you to come up with a proposal to solve our operating revenue deficit. And this plan would both, in theory, solve that operating deficit and allow us to advertise for employees at a rate that you think would attract qualified employees.
correct.
Okay, and well, y'all are the experts. And I mean, to the commission, it just seems to me if we are going to preserve the system, then we have to make it stable and properly operational.
The other issue we have though getting a qualified employee or just somebody with work ethic is one thing, but then when, oh, I've got to work outside, it's hot, it's cold. And, you know,
That was
person
mine.
doesn't want anything to do with that anymore. Work ethic's totally changed, but then they have to be responsible because you're dealing with hazardous material, you're dealing with the public. So, it's another issue because we had, I think, 5 employees for the last 2 years apply. 2 of them right out the door, forget it. But Brandon is excellent. He's young, but because of his family situation, but he's very smart. He's courteous. He does his paperwork correct. Not that the others are terrible, but Brandon really sticks out. And to me, he would make a great person to really train up because he has that work ethic.
Unfortunately, though, he's
Yes,
gonna probably be one of the first ones
I'm trying to get him to break away from
to do the part. Well, it's not, I think it's more that it's gonna be
The support, the family
the
support.
that you have.
Okay, so,
But
well, I mean, go ahead if you want to continue the chatter.
I just have one question. Dave, you said that there was 4 in the fields and here.
Check.
On here, we have, on this plan, it has just 4 employees total.
about 4 in the field and then counting me would be 5.
Yeah, on here, it has 1 manager and then 3 mechanics.
Now we've got 4 in the field.
Okay, so it's this,
Now we hired Mike Dimmadue here about 5 months ago.
so I'm just wondering, does that change the calculation?
Are you looking at the sustainability plan, or are you looking in?
Yeah, I'm looking at the sustainability plan.
Okay, and that might have been, I think the first draft we gave you, we thought it was also 4, but it has been adjusted in the rate study.
Okay,
where
I
it's
just want to
actually-
make sure, because that
You're
changes
correct,
a lot
yes.
of calculations there.
You're correct.
I have the budget pulled up in front of me, and we went in with around an average of $21.07 per hour per person for the 4 people. So right now, we have a budget of around $161,800 for this year's budget. So, get salaries for staff, for the gas. So just let you know,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be an increase, it would, we allotted for it, next year we would allot for a further increase, 5% or whatever, but we're already accounting for this.
That's a start.
Um,
So now you have plans to, let's say we get somebody doing all this, but, I'd like to continue with which plan is to get us back and get us better.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, so we can start, we can figure out the job postings, because that's a big thing. Even if we can just post for one of them, if you have some of the money set, I think that would be helpful to just start layering this in. The next would be hedging, we talked about that, will address some of the commodity volatility. Then on the next slide, so slide 11, this would be our phase 2. So this would be after we have the job positions filled and after we have our rate stabilization, our rate study, and our hedging programs in place. Then we'll focus really on growth. And that's where you're gonna start seeing the big turnaround, right? At first, it's hard because you have to, the famous saying, spend money to make money. That's kind of in the phase you're in. Right now, it's gonna be a little more squeeze until we can start seeing the benefit of it. But once you have these employees in place and they really buy into the system, they're gonna start becoming your sales force. And then we can start looking at developing a whole sales and marketing program, which would include rebate programs, dealer networks, advertising plans, the works. We would also create what we call a service line feasibility template. So that's something when somebody calls and they want gas service, you have a nice little template, you put in a little bit of information, it'll calculate for you the feasibility and say if it makes sense for you to run the line or if they need to contribute to some of the aid of construction. We also could look at exploring what we call a blanket agreement with the contractor. So if you have new staff that maybe are not ready to put in the service lines, we can negotiate with the contractor that's a set price per service line, for instance. It should just be a stopgap, right, until your team gets trained up and can do it. But that way you can continue to grow your system, get money put back into the system, and it'll help it in the long run.
And that would be something that would kind of help us, like you said, a set price we have it, so that way we know if we have a new service, we just call this person.
Yeah.
This contractor, go, we have a new service so that, because Dave's not gonna be here and all the other people. So this would be a way to continue growing and continue running the system, okay?
Exactly, and you don't wanna miss that opportunity, because people don't wanna wait for a service line because they want their hot water tomorrow, they want their kitchen tomorrow, they don't wanna wait 6 months. So to make sure that you keep that going is important. Additionally, we have public awareness programs, so this is something that is required by the Public Service Commission, this is on the safety regulations, to notify people what to do if they think they smell gas, call before you dig, those types of things. But because that's required to send out to all of your customers, it's a great way to pair that up with sales and marketing and say, hey, did you know we can run the service line for you or do promo items? Hey, if you sign up during the month of January, we'll waive your first month's in your deposit or something, we'll come up with something, right? Just things to get action to get people to do this. So we just like to pair those because when it's required, you have to spend the money to notify people, you might as well use it for marketing. So that there is a little bit of cost associated with those, obviously printing, if you have postage, if you know, whatever, the small, everything that we do for you is at our cost, everything's a pass through, we don't mark any of that, but there is some cost associated with that. So really that's kind of the end of the presentation for today. So our final thoughts are you have significant growth potential here. I mean, you really have a great asset. We just need to stick to that sustainability plan, and it's going to be a little bit painful, right, to get through these steps and spend some money, but I do think it will pay off in the long run tenfold. I think it'll be a great way to generate revenue for the city overall once we start growing, because right now you're just trying to get caught up, then we can start focusing on the growth side of it. It will take some time, so please be patient. But then one other thing to point out here is, again, we talk about our accumulated net revenues. This is part of your membership with FGU. We do make money from time to time on various different activities, and we contribute then part of your service charge, we send that back to you at the end of the year. So last year, we were able to do the tree clearing along the highway, and I think it was about $100,000, we got done for about $9,000 out of pocket. So that was how we used it in the past, but that funds can be used to start your rate stabilization fund, it can be towards a rebate program, it can be put towards training, you can put that money towards a variety of different things. So just wanted to kind of keep that in mind, that those are things we can look at using that money towards, and hopefully that goes up over time.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
So I know you don't want to belabor the discussion, but represented the Black Gas Authority for a lot of years, my firm still does. Dave, is it? The thought is you're going to retire in April, May, maybe?
Mhm.
And I'll confess, I don't know all of the responsibilities that Dave bears compared to, for instance, the manager at Black. But there's quite a bit involved in managing a gas authority, or at least there seems to be in Black. I don't know if you buy your own gas or if you have some kind of, you buy your own gas, so you have to understand that whole concept.
As part of the, FGU, yeah.
Well, okay, but you have to understand what you're doing, or you should. Are you budgeting for replacement of someone with managerial qualifications and experience? At what level?
Yeah, that's part of what. we
That's
talked
where it
about.
came in at the
Yeah.
70, I guess at that 70 plus range. But, I mean, but you also, I mean,
I don't know if we're budgeting for that, though.
I don't know that we are, but I understand where Dawn's coming from, and that was one of my questions, is we can budget all we want, and we can say that we're gonna advertise. Getting that person here is a whole nother conversation.
By not advertising, you'll never get that person here.
So I'm not suggesting that you not do whatever, but I'm just saying I've been through a couple of 3 manager searches in Palaca, maybe 4. There's a finite number of folks who walk in the door with the skills to manage a gas authority. We're not talking about water, and I'm not downing water or minimizing its importance, but it doesn't blow up most of the time, doesn't, I guess.
Something's really wrong.
I'm sorry.
Something very wrong.
So I'm just saying that you may be surprised at the pool that you have to choose from and what they're able to demand by way of salary, and I'll leave it at that.
So if I could weigh in here, just a moment. Been sitting here for 5 years. For 5 years, we have been struggling with our gas department. That was one of the first conversations I had with someone when I first came in office, is with our natural gas, and it's an enterprise, and we cannot seem to get it out of the red. We just can't. And so we increased the fees, and we just did that, and we still are operating at 10% below at $50,000 loss. From a business standpoint, you can only do that for so long, and you're gonna fold. And I think that, we need to have a hard conversation here as to where are we really going? I know, because I'm sitting here 5 years down the road, and we are really right where we are, if not worse than where we were when I first started here. And I do know, I will share this with all of you, that someone did reach out to me, that a gas company did reach out to me and said they would entertain, just out of the blue, said that they would like to, if the commission would be willing to, entertain discussions. And so I'm letting y'all know that there could be some interest. We've talked about where would we even start to value. And so through all of this, we have not valued where we currently are in negotiations. We think Dave's gonna stay here. Dave wanted to be out of here in December. Bless his heart, he's been here for 45 years. He just celebrated 45 years. And JT, and none of us have a guarantee for tomorrow. Okay? We already know that we are like right there on the border of being in violation should we lose one person in the field, and having to fill that spot with really someone that could be up to speed very quickly. So commissioners, I mean, I just think that we need to, this all to me, you know, I mean, it sounds good, you know, we know our residents are not gonna be happy with us because here we're gonna go through a whole nother increase just in order to sustain where we need to sustain now. But I think we really need to have a hard conversation on here as to
Years ago.
where we go from here. And it's hard to let go of something. We know that's hard to let go of something, but if somebody can provide that same service.
Well, one issue you've got, which Katie's still looking into, this grant that we just received for $1.5 million. I still don't know the red tape as far as that, if we decide to sell. I don't know how long we would have to keep the system before we may have to pay it back, or if there's penalties, or what the red tape is there. And we've already applied for another grant for $8 million for 28 miles of renovation. So I'm under the impression that should be being posted very shortly. And doesn't mean we're gonna get it, but we don't need to go through all this if we're going to sell, because we're just getting us deeper into hot water there. But Katie's looking into the clarification of how the rules are, that if you get it and you're gonna turn around and sell, or does it affect the buyer or whatever?
So one more question, and then I'm done. Just, if you had an objective analysis of where you are in terms of, I don't know I don't know all those things. 1963.
Yes. The $1.5 million grant that we've got now would replace all of our gauge stations, which control each town. And they're all from 1962, 63.
But still got a lot of pipe in the ground.
Yes. Oh, yeah, we have 130 miles of pipe.
And it's from,
Well, I'd say the original steel is off from 1963, but I would say about 70% of our system is now plastic, and that could be from 1970 to today.
I'm not an expert, I'm just saying, I guess, have you talked about what your long-term or maybe even short-term capital improvement needs might be if you have to do pipe repair without a grant, or if you have to do pipe replacement without a grant?
It would hurt.
Sir?
It would hurt very bad.
So I'm just, and again, I'm not arguing one way or the other, because I do know that gas authorities can generate profit for a municipality, no doubt about it. But, you know.
Aren't we in some debt?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, which doesn't help, by the way, but anyway.
Sir, ma'am, I'm sorry.
I think we're in some debt too, and that doesn't help, the sale of the,
Commissioner Ward.
You know, you were saying that 5 years ago, you were sitting there, I can tell you that 20 years ago, I was sitting here in 2003, and we were having the same problem. But we sit here every year, but we don't do anything.
Well,
This is the first actual, and you guys, Dave knows this, we talk about it as lip service every time, a bunch of time, and then it kind of goes away. And that's not Dave's fault, that's our fault. At least this, we're trying to take some actions to do something, because we haven't been. We've done a little bit here, there, kind of piecemeal. This is the best opportunity we have to turn this into something that's worth something, or at least turn it into something that's worth a little bit more and get rid of it. But I don't think that the option is to just not do anything. But I'm glad that we've had this is our third workshop, I think we've had this, we're actually in the process of doing something. So I'm glad that FGU is here as our partner, and you're the right people to do this. I don't know why we haven't talked to you more seriously in the past, but that I've done on us as elected officials. I know Dave always is pushing for things, but I appreciate Dave being here all this time. We're looking to have a dedicated employee like you. And it's your fault for doing all this, but no, you're the stimulus, you're the catalyst for us actually seriously taking a look at this, so I appreciate that. And I think that, we need to just move forward with the plan like Katie has presented it to us. And if someone wants to buy us, that's great, but I mean, sitting here saying, someone can buy us, we're not gonna do anything, we just need to have a path forward and continue moving.
I don't think anybody says we can just sit here and somebody's gonna buy us, that's not what, I've never heard that as part of our discussion. And that's what I think this conversation is now, is where do we go from here? Do we go that, which path do we take? Commissioner DeVito, you had something?
So, all right, so I'm just trying to clarify what I'm hearing. First of all, it's my understanding that Ms. Hall is standing there telling us this is the path she's recommending. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and so, I'm not sure what difference it makes, following up on what Commissioner Roy said, whether someone wants to purchase the system or not. Right now, we have a system and we have customers. And I think we need to continue to move forward to serve those customers. And we have asked FGU to come up with this plan, and they've done it. I don't think we can just drop everything in between. So to me, we vote to move forward with the plan. My next question, before you gave us the information about someone reaching out to you for the sale, was about a message to our community. I know I frequently see on social media, and I hear in the community, people talk about, this is going up, that's going up, this road isn't being properly maintained or isn't being paved well. Katie, do you have at FGU information that would help us? Can you do it for us? A letter that we can do to our community explaining to them in short form, what we're doing and why, that we are essentially doing this to improve our gas program.
Yes, we have a bill stuffer right now, and if you can't do a bill stuffer, we can take the same information and just package it in a way you can distribute it. But it basically explains, we did this for the city of Chipley, because they were in a very similar situation. They had an increase in rates in over 20 years, and they had a much higher percent they needed an increase, and was doing it over 3 years. We sent out a bill stuffer and explained why, and said, here's the responsibility of the city, here's the responsibility of the customer, here's what that money is going towards, and it's a safety thing, making sure the system is operated and maintained as safely and efficiently as possible. And it was a good explanation, and they got very little pushback from the community.
Right, and so Mayor, I have one more observation and then a question about the purchase offer that you referred to. May I?
Sure.
Okay, my observation to the commission is, I think I'm looking at phase 2, where it talks about sales and marketing. My observation is the Crescent City Gas Department would be doing better if the city of Crescent City were doing better, because we have, if we don't build another new home on a vacant lot, we have many lots that used to have occupied homes who probably could have gas service. And we also have vacant commercial buildings. So to me, sales and marketing is important, not only for our gas department, but it's something other cities have done, and it's important for us to essentially infill the city center and to infill the residential neighborhoods. And I don't really want to talk about that today, but I think that is very important. We've improved in some ways, but we still have those unoccupied residences or improved lots. The other thing is, Katie, when someone makes an offer of sale, I would assume that there's an analysis process. And does FGU help with that?
Yes, and we actually have done that at a high level for the system. So to elaborate, you brought up a really good point. So because of the age of your infrastructure, we would consider the sale of your system a distressed sale at its current state. If you were awarded these grants and we put in $8 to $10 million, and that would be a different story. But as it currently stands, it would be a distressed sale. We did have this happen in Fort Meade several years ago. I can't remember what year, 2010-ish. I will tell you what happened is they did sell it as a distressed sale. It was an investor-owned utility. I don't know who reached out to you, but that is who I know is going around trying to buy these.
It wasn't.
Okay, and they go in and they put the money in, they get the system up to code, they do a great job. But I will tell you, if you look at the slide that's right after slide 7, where we have the rate compare, where Tom pointed out what the 4 investor-owned utilities rates are, they will implement those immediately. So my point to bring that up is that if you're concerned about your customers, you know, you're like you said, these are your neighbors, these are your friends, they're gonna get these high rates, so you're not actually even gonna protect them from the higher rates. You're just handing that higher revenue now to somebody else instead of bringing it into the city, right?
It's simpler than that, we're handing the problem to somebody else, but I just wanted to say, you know, the gas is part of our house here in Crescent City. And I know I own a house, you know, all of us own a house, and we know this house is got termites, let's say, okay?
Okay.
So I guess what I wanna say is, you can't just go into a distressed sale. You have to kind of fix it before you can sell it. It's the same thing with a home that you live in. So I would kind of look at it more like that we need to start taking the steps and start moving forward. And quit, EJ is correct. Quit sitting on it. Commissioner, I'm sorry, Commissioner Lori is correct. Quit sitting on it and doing nothing, which is what we've kind of done. We've just been kind of passing the ball around.
Yes, so you bring up a really good point. The other thing, just to point out, there's been some significant road widening projects with the DOT that we had to move the gas line. And those were very labor intensive, because it wasn't just once we moved the gas line, we had to then protect the new gas line as we were moving all the other utilities and the road and the ditches and everything. So there was probably, of those last 5 years, at least 3 of those was very heavily involved with prepping for those and executing them, which gives it's just a little harder to then find the time to execute a plan like this. Because this is something once you start it, you have to just keep trudging through it. It's not something you can kind of start and then set aside and then start. You have to just grin and bear it and push your way through it. And I appreciate your faith in FGU, because that's exactly what I would have said is, now you have us on board, that's what's changed. We're very invested in turning the system around. I know this plan will work. I know it can work, and it's just something I would hope that you have faith in us to let us prove that to you. We are doing the steps exactly how we set them up. And like I said, it's going to be a little more painful in the short term, but then it should pay off in the end. That's what I fully believe. And the reason I believe it is because your alternative is, when we value the system at a very high level, we think right now the value of your system is only about $500,000. If it was in good shape, maybe 3 to 5 million. So it's a totally different situation at that point. But even then, we think that if we can get it where it's in the black and it's generating revenue, that even with that sale, that one-time revenue, we think then that your ongoing revenue will even be higher than that. So we do think that there's a lot of potential here, and I would be very honest with you if I did not think that if you had full build out and every single one of your houses had gas, it's a totally different story. And just like Commissioner DeVito was saying about how many houses you have right now that have gas service that's been turned off and is not currently taking gas, that's one of the things we found in some of our older towns, is you can offer a rebate, we call it a reactivation service reactivation rebate, say it's $200. That's still, if you pay them $200 to get their gas service turned back on, that's less than what it costs Dave and his team to remove that service line. So you're actually saving money on the cost to remove it and getting them back on board. So there's little tricks like that we would promote, and you can do things where you give them those limited time offers. Like I said, if you reactivate your gas service in the next 3 months, you get this extra rebate. So again, you do have to spend a little bit of money, but those are things we can use our A&R to fund. You know, we can get very creative with that. We have plans, we have options.
Mayor, I apologize. Someone asked whether the entity that made the offer was investor or non-investor. I couldn't
They didn't
answer
ask.
that.
They didn't
We don't
ask,
have.
I stated it was not investment.
It was not investor. Okay.
It was not.
Valid.
So I do want to say that we've also heard this argument, let's go out and market, we're not marketing ourselves. I was very excited, I went out and marketed it at a dinner one night. Three services we could have gotten from that. And I think they did take it, but in order for them to take it, it cost them how much?
$1,000 plus deposits.
Huh?
Each on about, one's on Highway 17?
Yeah,
$37,000.
that's how much they paid.
Not yet.
But that's how much it's gonna cost for us to run that service. They're gonna have to pay right outside the city limits. So we say, let's market, but, you know, I mean, not everybody has that in order to bring those gas services to them. And so that's a concern also.
That service line feasibility study or feasibility template that I mentioned, so that would be something that we would create to offset that. So basically you set it up and you look at it, especially if you get like a blanket contract, where sometimes it might be less than whatever price we've set. It might actually not cost that much, but they pay it, or we just assume it's that cost anyway. And then some of those that are more, so they're gonna offset each other, right? So sometimes it might cost you a little more, sometimes it's a little less, but overall the whole thing pays off. But we would come up with a way to fund that. Like, so there's things that you can calculate what your expected revenue is going to be from that. And so as long as we think that you'll recover the cost, then we can look at how many appliances they have, you know, what that expected usage is gonna be, and calculate that payback. So we can get a lot more involved in looking at those. I know a lot of that is based right now is just calling up a contractor and saying, what does it cost you to run the line? Without a lot of those other considerations taken in, just because that's how we do it right now, but we can improve that. We can clean that up, it's just we haven't put any focus on that yet.
Okay. Steve, I'm gonna put you on the spot here, I don't have it in front of me,
Sure.
but, in our last budget year, the general fund, was our gas department able to meet the general fund, funding?
I do not believe so.
You don't know how much,
No, not off the top of
the
my head, sorry, Mayor.
administrative costs, yeah, okay. Okay, you don't have that, I'm just wondering if that was included in that 50,000 that we're running in the, it wasn't? That wasn't, okay. So we've got to make that up too. I mean, so that's a consideration we have to have also, is that we've got to be able to, because our general fund should not have to subsidize, our gas department as an enterprise fund. So we need to make sure that that's part of the calculations, because, I don't believe it is. And I know Dave, he is doing everything he can. He works harder than anybody. And you do, I mean, you do, and we all, and I know this is near and dear to him. And, you know, and also with these grants, like with the $8 million grant, we've been talking about this for some time. Do we have any idea what our odds are, or where we are in the standing with that?
I think they're actually generally pretty good, and the reason for that is we've seen, so this is part of that Build Back Better initiative, and we saw, it's a 5-year program, and the first year they focused on cast iron and bare steel. From what we've gathered, all of that has been addressed at this point, or has been awarded. Then we saw them moving on, we kind of see them every year, how severe the problem is, and right now they're getting into this, what they call Adelaide pipe, and this kind of plastic that crumbles, they know it crumbles, and that's what you have in your system. So they're kind of just getting to that as saying, okay, we finally got to this point where we can address these issues. And so we think because of what you're bringing to the table, they're going to be seriously looking at that. I don't think that they can justify skipping you to something that's considered less of a problem, less of an aging infrastructure problem. So I do think you genuinely have a good chance at it.
Commissioners, do you have?
I just want to say thank you, Katie, thank you,
Yeah.
Chairman, the.
Thank you all.
Finance Director, too. Sorry, oh, there you go. But it's been, I mean, this is the most conversations we've had about this, in my memory, and, I think this is the right thing to do, so I'm glad that you're helping us with it, thank you.
My pleasure. I actually find a lot of joy in trying to help these systems. You guys are very near and dear to my heart. I love these small systems. Stephen will tell you, I preach it all the time. So we like talking about a plan. We like to see it turn around. I think you have something really special here. So hope that we can write it out and turn it around and look back on this later with good thoughts, good memories. So yes.
Thank you for your, for all the work you put into this. I would ask that before we consider this, it comes back to us that we take into consideration. And Steve, if you can provide them with, where we actually, with them saying the 50, and that's not including the general fund subsidy, or subsidizing. If you make sure, so that's gonna change our rates as well.
Okay, we'll put that in there. And then would you like us to come back for any meeting if you're going to take action on any of this?
Well, the commission?
I'd like to know.
Perfect.
I just don't want us to, brush it off like we have in the past. We are talking about it, but, whatever.
While we're talking about it, this last year, Steve and I had accounted for in our budget, for Dave's position, $78,977, which included $15,000 line item for possibly Dave coming in as a consultant, but we did up that. The total amount that they had on this report was $198,865. That was for the 4 employees. Our totality in our budget was around $240,793. So I just wanted to let that get that. That's what we had in our budget this year. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, I have a question for the commission. So it's my understanding from what Katie has said that if we're going, and also Mr. Frank, that if we're going to adequately staff the existing department, that we need to start advertising. So are we not going to authorize FGU to start advertising for the recommended number of employees at this point? I mean, it seems to me if we don't take action, and this is a special meeting, so we can't
I'll
act,
entertain a motion. I mean, I'll entertain a motion.
that we will be potentially pushing our system voluntarily into a violation and creating a distress that we might not come back from. I don't understand why we wouldn't go ahead and advertise for needed employees and allow FGU to do that for us as they have offered.
I move that we authorize FGU to advertise positions that we need, that are currently available at the recommended levels according to the sustainability plan. That Katie,
Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a proper motion and second. Any discussion on this? So my question is, if we advertise now and we don't have an opening until March or April, and you do have viable candidates, what do we do? I mean, because we know we can't, well, we can't, we're operating, I mean, so that's just something that we need to consider also, that I would hate for us to advertise and get candidates and then us not have the position available or the funding in order to meet that. So
That's
that's,
a problem we can face, I think, certainly not.
Well, Mayor, I have a question, and that's an excellent question. Would you then not work with Mr. Frank for the posted, availability date for the position?
I think there's several ways we could address that. I also personally just set the money aside for 1 second, which I know is a big thing, but having overlap and having training is invaluable.
I understand that.
So I think we could get very creative with the financing part if that's an issue that, I hate to try to solve the problem right now until we know we have that problem, because that would be a great problem to have. But I think that that is something we can overcome. I think knowing, that an option, just throwing ideas out there, if, Mr. Frank knows that he's got comfort, maybe then he feels more comfortable retiring sooner, just as an example. Or JT feels comfortable retiring sooner, or something like that. If it's also something that we can work out, we would figure something out if that's the case, but I just don't, I see way more upside potential to that, honestly. I would love to have that
Something that,
problem.
I mean, it's, we just, questions.
Yeah, it's a great question.
We need to
It's a
know.
great question. And we addressed that internally, so that's why I can talk about it, because that was our thing, is we know Tom's retiring, why do we want to wait to lose 40 years experience? We're a little bit in the same boat, 40 years experience, and we didn't know who the new finance manager was, so we got approval from our board to look and have that replaced, so we have the 6 months overlap, to get them comfortable. So I've gone through this, and our board was very open, and we came up with a great opportunity, so.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other discussion on this?
Thank you, I learned a lot.
Thank you for having me, and you'll see, like I said, a little bit more of me, got a couple more presentations for you, so. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, we currently have a motion in front of us and a proper motion and a second.
Commissioner DeVito,
Aye.
Commissioner Lori,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Mayor Myers.
Aye.
So great.
And you will get with Steve, you and Dave, and we'll get with, okay. With that, if it's okay with everybody, I'm gonna take like a 5-minute break if we can, so I'm gonna recess for 5 minutes.
Hold that.
Cool.
Back to the meeting.
Well, it's definitely,
Quiet.
Lots of
Is
back.
everybody there?
Yep, what I heard.
test, test, test.
Behavior stuff.
Thank you. This meeting is back in session. Thank you all very much. And I think at this point, we are, with Mr. Holmes. Mr. Holmes, you have the floor.
So I understand that I've been asked to present the findings of the investigator, which I believe that all of you have in writing. Is that correct? The written report from the investigator? As you all know, I did not participate in this investigation. I provided no input, which on purpose. I think that was the way that it was intended to be and was the way that was appropriate for us to proceed, that we all remain detached from the investigation. So I really have no comments to make regarding the report. You have it. My suggestion is that you take it and read it and consider it outside of the meeting. And then my thoughts are that rather than trying to discuss it now, which I'm not sure how that discussion would go, maybe instead you take it and you look and you decide whether or not any of you wish to bring something before the commission by way of anything, address the report in any way, whether it be by way of addressing some of the recommendations that that Ms. Kelly made, whether it be by way of addressing policy, whatever it might be, that you bring that up as an agenda item so that everyone is aware of it in advance and has the opportunity to basically prepare to whatever extent they feel comfortable, and then move forward from there. So beyond that, I can't really answer any questions as to the much behind the report, because as I said, I didn't participate in the investigation. So my presentation is basically just what I'm saying, here it is, but rather than trying to dissect it or question it right now, I think probably we'd be better off if you would just take it, review it, consider it, and decide then whether or not you wish, either with or without the input of staff, to address it further by way of an agenda item or workshop, whatever you should choose, to see, if they can produce something that's positive for the city. And so that's the extent of my comments.
Would you want the commissioners to individually reach out and share their thoughts with either you or Mr. Martin, or how do you want to proceed with that, if that's what they want to do, if they want to bring this up as an agenda item?
Well, of course, I'm happy to talk to any commissioner with the understanding that I can't relay to any other commissioner my conversation with the first commissioner, because obviously sunshine violation. So I'm happy to speak to any commissioner about their thoughts or what they're thinking about doing, if they think it'd be helpful to discuss that with me. Otherwise, you may already have one or more of you may have already formed an opinion about how you'd like to move forward, or if you'd like to move forward, or whether there's something you'd like to have further addressed. Then I think that obviously you're free, y'all are all free to ask for an item to be placed on the agenda, correct? Any one of you individually. So, I mean, if there's going to be multiple items that are on the agenda stemming from the report, we may look at it and find that there might be some commonality that would allow us to have, one agenda item discussion or something. But otherwise, I'm not really suggesting any particular organization for how you move forward. It's just a matter of, if you have questions you think I can answer about not the background of the investigation, because as I told you, I don't know. I relayed the request for the investigation to the Ms. Kelly. I received the report back. I think I did also provide her the list of witnesses that I was given, as I recall. She asked for people who she might interview, and I think I provided those based upon input I was given, not anything that I generated myself. And other than that, I can't answer questions as to who she interviewed. I can't answer questions as to specific statements anybody made because I just frankly don't know.
So I guess what I'm getting at is if they want to put it on, if they feel like there needs to be discussion, how do you want us to go? Do you want us to?
If you want to talk to me about it, then I'm happy to. Otherwise, I think that you just ask the city manager to put your particular item on the agenda for discussion, either at a workshop or an action item at a meeting.
Okay.
We were actually gonna bring forward, some of the suggestions, some of the things that staff had talked about in regard to the findings. Some policy changes or additions, and we were gonna run those by, our council first and bring those to you.
Commissioners? You have any comments, any questions? Okay. Well, with that, I guess that we're at the end of this meeting. I'm gonna open it up for public comment. If we have any public comment, please, anybody, it's at the end of the agenda. We've had a lot today, so if anybody has anything, please come forward. State your name and your address if you would.
I just have one question before you vote this out. And he suggested a few ways to handle this. Did we decide on how we were gonna do that, or?
No, he said basically that we would probably want to bring this up as an agenda item.
Yeah, it's your choice, but I suggest it be brought up as an agenda item. And that way, out of fairness to everybody concerned, everyone has an idea of what's coming, at least the subject matter.
Yeah.
And then people can choose whether they want to participate, how they want to participate, et cetera.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't quite.
No, it might have been my fault for not adequately explaining.
I'm trying to do two things at once.
I understand, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to open it up for public comment.
Melanie Ames, City Clerk. Tonight is very difficult for me. Commissioner DeVito, have the utmost respect for you, utmost respect. There will be no disrespect this evening. An apology would have gone a long way. Commission, please know, each of you have a special place in my heart. I have helped each of you on your campaigns throughout my town, but let me explain something to each of you. Social media, not a good thing. Not a good thing when you're a local girl, born and raised, running through the halls of Miller Enterprises with my grandmother, handing away food stores, standing on a milk crate because I couldn't see her coming. I've been here in the face of the town. When you see me, most of the time you see me with a smile. Very, very disappointed in my city. Commissioner DeVito, no one knew anything about my background. You only knew me as the girlfriend of Mr. King. Mr. King and this commission has been through hell for 5 years. So sad. The diversion in this town is awful. I'm not ugly. It's time to resign. I appreciate every one of you. You will see me out and about with a smile again on my face with no stress. I did the best job that I thought in my heart. I came in with a full plate buried in work. Got caught up. Had an administrative assistant leave us who took all those minutes. I had no idea. Yet again, through budget, through meeting after meeting, your clerk has since brought every minute up to date. Derek. You and I have an amazing working relationship. I'm quite positive under your management. please know, transparency, integrity, my reputation means the world to me, not on the front page of the Plaquemine News. Thank you.
As all of you know, tonight is our clerk's last meeting with us. We will be without a clerk until we started to advertise it.
Yes, we have. We've advertised nationally, locally on our website as well.
And that's a tough job. Tough job. It really is. For anybody who steps in there, and I commend Melanie, she stepped in and she did have a lot on her plate. And I'm very appreciative for the time that she has served, us. So with that, do we have any other comments? Anything else?
I'm just a return.
I would like to make one comment and really approval from you all, because of the timeframe to which we've had the advertisement out and we don't have anybody in the position. I would like permission to possibly work somehow, possibly a 1099 deal in the interim with Melanie, because our city clerk has the background, has been doing the work. I'm not sure if she's even available, but she told me that she would be able to help out until we found somebody. I don't know what to capacity, but I would like permission to see what we can work out.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and, ask Melanie to work in a 1099 position. Just so that we have coverage in the interim until we hire somebody.
Maybe short term, until we find somebody.
Short term, yes.
Second.
Proper motion in a second?
I have a suggestion about that. The city manager said he did not know about availability. We don't know how long it will take us to fill the position. My thought was that maybe we should authorize him to work with available individuals. Obviously, he has first choice, but if that's not possible or the time runs out, that we authorize him to get the work done using the 1099 relationship. And that we give him the option.
All it was continuity.
I mean, staffing and management issues are up to you. I don't know why we have to approve every little thing like that. It's your job. I think that's fine. I made a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
We have another motion too, so let's finish this up. He's asked for permission so that nobody can come back and criticize him that we're spending the money. Because somebody will, because we're spending the money. So, do we have a second on that? We did, you seconded it.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay?
Thank you.
So you have that authorization. We also have a, motion on the table for adjournment. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have, any further questions, comments? Everybody, you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Tomorrow, 12:30.
We have our luncheon at 12:30 tomorrow. And then remember the parade, and the big event that we have on the 6th, starting off the 5th with caroling. And then we've got the Presbyterian Church is holding their function that morning at the 6th.